This is the third program in our series that we call Hannibal's Other Voice, concerning issues that have to do with local government or governments in Hannibal. The subject today is the Hannibal Municipal Assistance Corporation. That is a not-for-profit corporation. It is a device, or some may say a flim-flam, that allows the city manager and the city council of Hannibal to avoid the requirement of voter approval for municipal bonds issued by the city of Hannibal, Missouri. For background, the state constitution in Article 6, Section 26B requires that any long-term financing by the issuance of bonds by any municipality or any local government for that matter must be submitted to the voters for approval. In the case of a general obligation bond of the city, it requires a 2/3 affirmative vote for the city to go forward with the bond issue. Now, in some instances, a 4/7 majority will do, and for certain revenue bonds, a simple majority will allow the city to issue those types of bonds. But in each of them, in each case, the city must get voter approval in order to proceed. Now, why is this? The basis for the provision in the Constitution is that the current city council or school board or any government body should only be able to appropriate the money that it has on hand and that which is to come in the next or coming fiscal year, for which they have to budget revenue against expenditures. If they desire to spend money from future years, where they may or may not be members of the city council or the school board or any board or commission, they have to get voter approval because they're spending money that is yet to be paid by the taxpayers. And so that's why the Constitution requires that if you're going to have long-term financing, the voters must approve. Now, in 2008, our city manager, who was Jeff Lagarce at that time, was tempted by a St. Louis law firm called Cunningham, Vogel, and Rost to try to get the mayor and the city council to use their scheme to get around the voter approval requirement in our state constitution. The idea was to issue $1 million in bonds for the construction of the new street department facility down on Collier Street. Now, the shocking result of that proposal is the mayor, the city council, the city attorney, everybody on the city staff, anyone that would want to voice an opinion, all went along with the scheme. And so the Hannibal Municipal Assistance Corporation was incorporated and board of directors were appointed, and the issuance of bonds, or the device to issue bonds without voter approval, went forward. How does it work? Well, what they believe is appropriate or legal is that this Municipal Assistance Corporation has conveyed to them city real estate upon which they can borrow. In the first instance, it was the street department facility. And so the street department facility was conveyed to the Hannibal Municipal Assistance Corporation, and they borrowed the money, issuing bonds in the name of the city of Hannibal. And then the city entered into an agreement to lease the property back, lease purchase, where the payments they made to the Municipal Assistance Corporation were the same as those payments needed to retire the bonds. And so, if it works, and it has so far, the bondholders are paid back and they earn their interest, and the voters have no say. Now, the same contrivance was used later on to issue $6 million worth of bonds to have a private contractor do an asphalt overlay on practically all the streets in Hannibal. And then again, there was another $6 to $7 million worth of bonds for the improvements to the riverfront to permit Viking cruise lines to dock here, and to build the $1.7 million tourist bureau building up by the Hannibal Municipal swimming pool. At no time, no mayor or city council member said anything, for example, like, shouldn't we let the voters decide about borrowing over $12 million for them to repay? Not a word was said. Now that the city does not own its street department, it does not own the police station, and it also does not own City Hall. And the voters have not had any say in any of it. Now, there is a very interesting development that has taken place, which gives a certain final interesting twist to our story today, which is thus. The Hannibal Municipal Assistance Corporation has been dissolved by the Missouri Secretary of State, Jay Ashcroft, for failure to comply with the state law that requires all corporations to file an annual registration with the Secretary of State's office. The corporation officers have failed to file a registration since 2018. So the corporate owner of City Hall, the police station, and the street department currently does not legally exist. Now, if you take all that in, it might provoke you to ask the mayor or your city council member whether or not that's the proper way for the city of Hannibal to do business. Now, we'll be back, and we, of course, are always interested in any comment or feedback or suggestion for further examination that you may want to offer us. And we will be intending to do another episode in this series probably within the next 4 to 5 weeks. So we thank you for your attention and for keeping up with what we're trying to provide.